At any point, did you say to yourself, well, if the Brewers don't win the World Series, this season's a total waste of time. It's a disappointment. No, it'll be great if they make the playoffs. That's still like the goal around here. And I know people, well, are you settling for that? Well, you got to do things incrementally.
Absolutely.
Right? Just as the paradigm has shifted for the Packers. It's not Super Bowl or bust per se, because you're going to carry the G no matter what.
And you know who carries the G?
Who's that?
It doesn't matter if it's to the Super Bowl or if it's to a cereal bowl
or the Moose Lodge
or a snack chip bowl. Whatever bowl is around, you will find a G close by when this man is there. It is none other than Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV. Nags, what's going on?
What is happening? What an intro. See, we are mid-season form, KB.
We
I
are
love
mid-season
Loving
form,
it.
my man.
Absolutely love. Wait. Before we kick things off, I got to ask, what was the name of the Angels? Where was the location?
No. It was the what is it? Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim,
Gardena.
California, in the western part of the United West. Yeah, right. It's like unbelievable.
Gardena, Tustin, Strong Beach.
Phenomenal.
Yes, Anaheim.
It's crazy.
So Nags,
Yes, sir.
Your time in the good land rapidly dwindling.
Yes, sir. I'm both happy and sad. Very, very, very sad to leave so many friends and Packers training camp, but very happy to get back home and see my daughters and get back into New York life. I'm not made for these Green Bay streets, Drew. It's not. There's a reason I grew up wanting to move away and get to New York.
There's
not
mean
a whole
enough
reason.
for you?
Oh.
They're not the mean streets?
Yeah, it's just not my vibe, man. Not that it's not lovely. It's just not my vibe.
But still. Okay, well, let's talk about the gathering that we were focused on so much, and we were going to learn so much about what's going to happen this season. And by that, I don't mean the joint practices. I mean Corey Benke's gathering last night. Amongst the media.
We do it every year. We just
the annual soiree.
Media folks over that, who we know and enjoy and like, and we respect their coverage. And I see them every day out at practice and in the press conferences. And we've been doing it, I think, we started right before the pandemic. And like I said, we do it once a year. It's a lot of fun.
I know. And we were invited, but we had other obligations.
You were invited.
Here. I know. And it's like, I'm kicking myself because even I could have left after our show and driven up and been there and still had fun.
These are the choices we make, Drew.
True.
Was there a review of the Drew and KB Cabin Strength Bourbon? Have you tried that as of yet?
No, mine is sitting in my bag ready to go back to New York with me. I will open it when I get there.
Okay. Because next time we talk to you, we need a review.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Fantastic.
These are the tough tasks that I have to tackle. I understand.
Indeed. Give us a review of the press conferences today, Nags.
It's fascinating to me that we are now in an age where, you're an old, learned veteran scribe yourself. You know how it used to be when it came to not only just football, but baseball, professional sports in general, where you could have even offhand conversations with assistants at times, or get maybe the coordinator walking from practice back to the Lambeau or what have you. Now it's so controlled, and
this is literally with them.
This is literally the first time we've gotten to talk to the coordinators all training camp. It didn't ever used to be this way. So there were a number of things to ask about. Obviously, it was a great week to get them after the kind of two practices with the Patriots. You've got a game under their belts already, so there's a bunch of information, but that's kind of what I kept thinking about. It's like all these questions that I have arise day by day throughout camp, and by the time we get to talk to these guys, like the relevancy has come and gone because so many things happen each and every day. So that is a little frustrating, but I will say the headline of the day is undoubtedly Brian Gutekunst shooting down the idea. I know it was reported in one area that the Packers, at least the Jets, had talked about attempting to trade for David Bakhtiari. Brian Gutekunst putting the kibosh on that, which I was happy to see.
That was very cool of him to do that.
Well, you know what? If I'm Gutekunst, I am not giving the former quarterback anything anymore.
Why would they want to help?
I don't care if they gave me everything back, everything I wanted. He ain't going to the Jets.
No. Why would you want to help them get better? You want them to do poorly.
Plus,
why would you want to help the guy that crapped all over you?
The report was harebrained anyway because when you looked at the financials,
that's what makes it incredibly difficult. Yeah, exactly.
So there was just if it happened earlier, I guess there was a window when they could have maybe traded him, right?
Back in the spring. No
in the
doubt.
spring.
But once they paid his bonus and they basically handed him $15 million, that was not going to happen.
So my problem with the way the business has evolved is that got any oxygen in the first place.
But you know how it is, especially when you've got people in the New York media who are Jets fans or with national platforms who are Jets fans. They're going to fan those flames. You know that's going to happen.
That's the old, that's the internal talks. And I still give Buster Olney a hard time about this, my buddy, because he used to say that, he would say, well, the Jets have had internal talks about trading for David Bakhtiari. And I used to bounce that off my Doug Melvin, the Brewers GM. He's like, yeah, we were sitting at dinner the night. We said, wouldn't it be great if we had Barry Bonds? That was internal talks.
Right.
Exactly.
We're not going to get him, but we had internal talks.
But it'd be wonderful.
But we had internal talks. So that's just, I'm glad that was shot down. And Bakhtiari is not going to,
he's not going anywhere. Absolutely not.
And maybe not even after this year, right? They might ride this contract out.
I think, look, it's definitely a year-to-year thing now with David. There's zero doubt there. I do think it's very much a question of, okay, let's get through this season, because we still, as well as he played last year, and he played outstanding when he was on the field, he still missed a number of games. They're still kind of working through how to make sure he does suit up for all 17 of these contests. So I think they'll get through this season and see how it goes, so to speak. But, yeah, if he resumes playing at the level we saw all of last year, really, once he got on the field, I don't doubt there's no doubt that they'll try to figure something out because he's just too good a player. You don't want to just jettison him.
At what point on the calendar do we start to think about that? Because it does seem
it all depends on their record, right?
I guess I was just going to say, because at what point do people say, well, Aaron Jones isn't going to be back, and
right? Please, we don't need a mark on the calendar for that. I get that in my daily chat almost every day. Why is that? Well, how did that happen? When did fandom turn into that? I'm like, look, I don't want to tell anybody how to fan. You do whatever you want to do. I get it, but. Man, people we are in the midst of training camp, and I've got people do you think A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones are going to be back next year? I'm like, can we get through Tuesday?
Can we get through the second preseason game?
It drives me insane. But I don't know. I think maybe it's fantasy football, maybe it's Madden. I don't know. But
I'm old enough to remember when Prince Fielder and Ricky Weeks hit their first home runs on the first night on a magical night at then Miller Park, and people were like, yeah, well, they both be with the Yankees next year.
100%.
They were rookies. They had 6 years, a 6-year window that they were indentured with the Brewers, and people they're going to be gone.
They're gone.
Well, that's
where we're at.
That's that inferiority complex, that woe is me feeling.
But Nags, straight up, this game tomorrow night, all these games of this new era are different. It has these games have a different air. Starting quarterback's playing, so QB1's playing, so it's different. But after what happened this week, what do you expect to see tomorrow night? How much will Love play, and what will the tenor be based on the way the Patriots kind of handed the Packers their lunch the other day?
Well, they certainly did, on Thursday. That day definitely went to the Patriots. But that was after Wednesday, where the Packers undoubtedly took that day. So the rubber match, so to speak, on Saturday should be fun. I do think Brian pretty much stated today that, Love is going to play. The question is how much. I suspect probably just a bit more than he did against Cincinnati. They need, and it's not just Jordan, it's everybody along the offense because they are so young. Again, I don't think we'll see much of, if any, of Aaron Jones. Definitely don't think we'll see David Bakhtiari out there. But other than that, I think everyone will play and probably play around a quarter, maybe a little less, because they need the reps. We were talking to Adam Stenovich today, and he was going through how important it is, especially on offense, with all of the precision that's required. Getting those reps, getting that stuff on tape, and learning from it as a group is just infinitely more important than it has been in Green Bay for so long because they had so many vets. They had so many guys on offense who knew the offense and knew each other so well. That's not the case now. As fun as it is right now, it's very exciting, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism, no doubt about it. We're very excited by it, but they got to play together more before week 1 against Chicago.
I see a day coming if they can work out the financial ramifications of this, where preseason goes away, that teams have a series of 3 weeks of these scheduled joint practices, and then you lace them up and go in week 1. I mean, the financial ramifications to these teams that have attendant, they've got ticket sales and all that in the preseason.
That's what makes it
all that money.
tough.
It's not a split. that would make it tough. But if there's a way to do it, they would do it.
I can tell you that I know that has been kind of we're talking about internal discussions, right? I know that is something that has been bandied about in league circles for years, like at least the last 5 years or so. Because look, remember when the pandemic hit and they held a full season and they didn't even have training camps, let alone preseason games. They got through that year just fine. And the level of football really didn't suffer that much. So I think that was a kind of an eye-opener, especially on the business side, so to speak, that, okay, maybe we can play with this and manipulate it a little bit. To your point, have joint practices so you have other fan bases coming in. You're still getting kind of an injection of money that way, right? But the problem, of course, is what you're talking about in regards to the money that the teams get to keep in preseason. All of this, the gate receipts, the merchandise, all the concessions, that's all just yours, right? You don't share it with the rest of the league like you do the broadcast rights. So that's what makes it difficult when it comes to the CBA and the negotiations they have to have with these league owners. I do think there's a possibility that they try to finesse something like you're talking about, maybe not that extreme. The problem is, very famously, when they have these owners meetings, right, and the coaches are all there, and then when they actually have to decide these things, they tell the coaches to go play golf, and then they have the real talks and the votes while the coaches are on the fairway. So I don't think there'll be a drastic change anytime soon, but it's clear that more and more teams are up for this, right? Coaches absolutely love it.
I'll tell you, under a Drew Olson commissionership,
yes, sir.
OTAs and minicamp go bye-bye.
Yes,
we
sir.
have a 2-week camp for the new draft picks to come in and teach them where the bathroom is and teach them how the locker room works and make sure their swipe cards work. That's a 2-week for indoctrination, and it's
ramp up,
welcome
if you will,
week,
right?
Welcome week, syllabus
week.
week,
Orientation, yeah.
And then we're going July 9th. We're in. And that's when, and we're going to start and we're going to ramp up. And that's when we do installs. And then we work our way to joint practices galore and then exhibition game. Oh, and by the way, we're tacking on week 18 for you too, as part of the
Godspeed in your talks with whoever's the head of the NFLPA in this alternate universe. But I like it. I like the idea.
You don't think they'd give up being off in May and June to or March and June to
no chance, especially if you're throwing in an 18th game there. I mean, we know that's coming in regardless, but
18th game's coming, so they might as well get something for it, which would be
that's part of the horse trading, right? That's part of the
longer time off.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, but they work so hard to get the time off that they already have. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying go to Cancun in May because we're not making you come in.
Right. What is mini camps? I mean, what is it's 3 weeks.
Babysitting.
I know.
They're all in condition.
How
anyway.
are they going to bowl together?
Anyway. All right. Anyway. So, okay, Nags, it didn't seem as declarative as Goody's statement on Bakhtiari, but the vibe from today is Anders Carlson ain't going anywhere. We're not bringing anybody in.
That sure is the vibe. And look, I understand where he's coming from in regarding young kickers and their struggles and wanting to be patient and thinking maybe everyone else in the world could do with a little bit more patience in our lives in general, right? I do think it makes a world of sense to bring someone in to compete. I understand why they think, why do that and split reps with your young kicker who needs every rep he can get. So I get both sides of that. What I would do doesn't matter, right? I'm not the GM. Brian, and we've heard from Bisaccia today saying the same thing, absolutely 100% backing it. The idea that, we're going to be patient with him. And the one thing I found interesting, Brian did allude to the idea, if they get 2 or 3 games into this and it's still a problem, well, then yes, they'll undoubtedly start exploring stuff. But, man, it sure looks and feels like you said, that is the watchword, patience.
To those who want to bring in another kicker, though, to your point, you're taking reps away from the guy that needs them, right?
Yeah.
And the vote of confidence can help people through slumps, right?
100%. Like we saw it with Mason a couple
times. If you bring somebody in and the kick and the performance is equal, you're going to give the job to Anders Carlson anyway.
Exactly.
And if a guy, grossly outkicks him, there's a good chance that you'd probably stay with Carlson because he's a draft pick anyway. So there's no way for kicker X who comes in to really win a job.
Wendell on our site wrote a piece about this, and he pointed out something really smart. Well, the idea that with the practice squad rules the way they are now, you could easily, basically, stash him on the practice squad for the season, maybe even redshirt him. So I think in years past that probably would have been true. Maybe they could go that route, but like I said, it doesn't matter what we think or want to do because they have made it, like today was very, like you said, not quite declarative, but obviously the idea here is we believe in this kid. He's going to get it figured out. We're going to help him do it, and we're going to be extremely patient with his growing pains.
Okay. Next, looking forward, and we don't need the calendar on Dylan and the guys and contracts and stuff next year. But the 53, that clock is ticking.
Yes, sir.
And it seems like it's a rite of passage here. It's an annual tradition in Wisconsin, just like eating cream puff at the state fair, is that we sweat.
And getting hosed by the judges. Sorry,
we
I had to
sweat.
throw that in
You channeled your Billy there. We sweat the cuts and think, well, they can't cut that guy because I really like him. And there's no way he's not going to get claimed. Yep. And then they go unclaimed and they go to the practice squad.
We just talked about this on the Cheesehead TV happy hour. I don't know if it's like this in every other football community, but it does feel like Packers fans got burned with the Taysom Hill thing. And ever since then, they have been like petrified that their favorite, like, no-name, down bottom of the depth chart wide receiver or running back or whoever, and it's almost always a skill position player, which makes me feel this is fantasy-driven. But
true.
They always, like, threat that this star in the make, that's ready to be a supernova, huge star in the NFL is obviously going to get picked up by one of the 31 other teams. And what I pointed out on Happy Hour was, yes, I understand that's the fear, but you got to remember there are guys like that getting cut in almost, if not every single NFL town. So there's undoubtedly fans of other teams going, oh, if we cut this guy, he's going to get claimed. And yes, claims happen. But more often than not, it's like, I picked up an offensive lineman because we need depth there. Or this guy was a tight end. We had an injury in our preseason game, and we got to fill out the depth chart. Like, that's what usually drives those kind of things. But again, I get it. It's that time of year. We're all kind of hyper-focused on each and every one of these players. And so we probably do fret about it a little bit more than we should.
Yeah, well, the USFL and XFL are full of them.
Yeah, 1,000%.
They're crawling with those guys.
Totally. Anything else you're going to be looking for tomorrow, Nags, as you savor your last few hours in the good land?
Really how much they're able to move the ball through the air against the Patriots point blank. I mean, they really struggled yesterday, both quarterbacks, both Love and Clifford, after a really strong day on Wednesday. See how they bounce back. And look, the Patriots are a great test. They have some really nice corners and defensive backs who really test these young receivers. And up front, they kept getting after them as far as the stunts and the blitzes and the fakes and everything. It was a really good test and really good work for that young offense. But that's what I'm really excited to see is, can they take that next step? Can they kind of move the ball and push it downfield a little bit more and start to make some gains there?
Well, I just hope that he has a tough game so we can watch all of Packer Nation now jump off the bandwagon after week one.
It's a week-to-week thing. You know that.
This sucks. He sucks. Get rid of him.
They're going to be tanking for whatever phenom is coming out of college next year, no doubt.
You gave the wrong answer. The big question tomorrow night is, will Benke supply Luke Musgrave with a pair of gloves?
I love it. I will ask Corey when I see him later. That's
because
Packers fans want to know.
We want to know. Next, we'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night, guys.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, bud. Aaron Nagler, cheeseheadtv.com. Oh, crack open a Cream City Ale already.